All right, good evening, class, and welcome to week number 3. That is right, week number 3 of your 7315 class, which is your management class. As always, I am your professor, Dr. Jace K. Austin. And this week we are going to keep it a little bit simple in the check-in video. The check-in videos are probably going to get longer. Those of you who know me know that I'm very long-winded, but right now I am honestly just trying to conserve a little bit of energy because my daughter will not be going to daycare tomorrow due to the impending snowstorm that is going to hit Missouri. I hope you all are staying safe, staying dry, staying cold, not staying cold, sorry about that, and also that you all have things worked out as far as inclement weather plans at the libraries you work at, for those of you who work at libraries. And one of my check-in videos in the future will be talking about facilities, probably at least one. But I am going to skip that for now because right now let's just let the facility issues fall where they are going to at this point because the storm is coming. But maybe next week we can get into facilities, especially if I have if I have a news report that I can look at of any sort of damage that this storm causes to a library or something. And then we can look at some things in hindsight, which is always a little bit better of an approach. So what we're going to do today, we are just going to give a quick state of the course update, and then we are going to look at one of ALA's pages. This is not going to take long. Hopefully I will keep this I will definitely keep this under 15 minutes. I don't know if I can keep it under 10, but we're going to try. Also, remember, you can speed this up. So the first thing that I want to say is that, again, things seem to be rolling pretty well. This upcoming week that you guys you do have some reading to do in your textbook, and then also you've got the O'Connor reading chapter 5. Yeah, well, you all know how to get to there we go. All right, the assignment chart. So you'll see a link to the O'Connor reading there. And I hope you enjoy those readings. And then also, you will have your second case study this week, and then next week you'll go back to a discussion board prompt. But what I do want to say, what's probably the most important thing to kind of note in this check-in video is that so far, I am about halfway done, a little more than halfway done, but not quite 2/3 of the way done on grading the first case studies, and I am pleased with what I'm seeing. I am seeing some very interesting things as far as very much the majority of you are expressing that the issue at hand did not constitute sexual harassment. But I am seeing a few who are making the case that it did. And I know I'm taking a coward way out when I do this, but I am actually not going to render an opinion on this one way or the other. One of the awkward things about me teaching management is that I went into academia and teaching specifically because I didn't want to be a manager, and these were the types of things that I did not want to be faced with. So having said that, yeah, I guess I should tend to go with majority rule, which would place me as somebody who would say that it was not sexual harassment. But the people who say that it was sexual harassment are making some very, very good points. I would also say, though, that yes, most of you are talking about document, and that is good stuff. I have had at least 2 issues in my career where I have had to just start documenting stuff because of issues that other people were causing. And so, yes, I would say that whenever stuff starts to hit the fan in any kind of way, documenting has saved my behind, and it just might save yours. So I am going to leave the state of the course update there. Things seem to be rolling. If you do have any questions, especially any questions about the upcoming interview assignment, which still is a little ways away. It's due on, I believe, February the 20th here. If you have any questions about that or the case studies or anything else going in the class, please either email me or hit the discussion board post or the discussion board prompt that is dedicated specifically to questions, comments, concerns, and things of the like. All right, so let's go ahead and see if we can spend 10 minutes or less talking about this page here, and hopefully we can, because the main thing is, if you want to read this page yourself, which may be helpful, you have this link here, and then you can also just Google ALA, what library managers need to know, and this should be one of your first results. It might not be your first result because it wasn't the first result for me, but it could be one of your first results. And I have not read this, The Accidental Library Manager. I hope to get into it and read it soon, and see if some of this material will be helpful for me to talk about in one of my check-in videos. But one of my issues here is that this is going on 20 years old. So, it's great that it's free and everything, but if it's almost 20 years old, and social media especially, and the concerns that generate from social media, things were very different back in 2005. I don't know if all of y'all remember 2005. That's when I graduated from college, because Dr. Jace is old. But things are a lot different, especially in the social media landscape, than they were back then. And I think things like the pandemic and the housing bubble and all those things, the election of the first Black president, the election of the first orange president, all of these things kind of go together to make even library management and how that's approached different. So having said that, yes, what library managers need to know, we will just go through this list really quickly, and hopefully, again, I will spend 10 minutes or less on it. At this point, 9 minutes or less. So typical requirements: education. The requirements for a librarian position can span the range below. A 4-year undergraduate degree in any field. Usually, if this is what you are seeing as the minimum requirement for a library management position, this tends to be a sign that you are somewhere where, for one, they probably don't have an accredited library science program in that state. Not every state has an accredited library science program, and certainly some of you know that, because I know some of you are probably here because there is not one in your state. I don't know all the states, but I do know that Virginia falls in that category. I know that Nebraska falls in that category, and there are probably quite a few others. I do believe that Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho all fall in that category. A master's degree in library science. This is typically your minimum at a place that is not like a rural public library. Typically, if you've got a place with any amount of population, or if you've got an academic library, then the master's in library science is the minimum requirement to be a manager. And when I talk about management in this case, I'm not really talking about school libraries. I don't know very much about K-12 libraries, but to my knowledge, at least, K-12 libraries do not necessarily have somebody who is a manager who manages other a lot of times they don't manage other people who are degree-holding librarian rank people. A lot of times your K-12 libraries only have one librarian on staff with with librarian rank, and the other employees are quote-unquote paraprofessionals. MLIS degree from an American Library Association accredited school. I would say that these two things actually tend to go hand in hand. A lot of times, it's very rare that you'll see a job that requires a MLS or MLIS, but does not require it to be accredited. Usually, if you see this requirement, usually if you see this requirement, it's assumed that this requirement also plays in. ALA accredited MLIS or MLS degree plus a teaching certificate. This tends to be the case often in school libraries. But again, a lot of these times you are not actually managing somebody with a library degree and who has the rank of librarian a lot of times, but certainly not always. Or an ALA accredited MLS or MLIS plus a second master's degree, or possibly even a doctorate degree when you're getting into some of these upper tier academic libraries. All right, so skills: desire to meet and serve the library's user community, the ability to think analytically and to develop new and revised systems, procedures, and workflow. Ability to exercise initiative and independent judgment. Knowledge of computers, the internet, and commercially available library software. Yes, if you want to go into management, please know your technology. We do have a lot of people who just get into management because they're older, they've been at the place for a long time, and they kind of got worked up the ranks. Sometimes they are interims who are just made permanent, but they don't know the technologies. Please, please, please know your technologies if you're trying to go into management. But we're hoping that everybody who finishes our degrees will have some competence in library technology and information technology. Ability to prepare comprehensive reports and present ideas clearly and concisely in written and oral form. Also, you may want to, in those cases, also when it comes to budgets, know Excel a lot of times. Ability to motivate, establish, and maintain effective working relationships with associates, supervisors, volunteers, and, well, basically other stakeholders. Yes, managers, managers, I hope always, but the truth is not always, but you want them to always be people who are able to actually engage the various stakeholders and do so without alienating these people, unless alienation is appropriate. Knowledge of the philosophy and techniques of library service, ability to organize job duties and work independently, demonstrated knowledge of library materials and resources. That is what 7314 is for, which is my typically my elective that I teach every semester. The creativity to develop and implement library programs and services, ability to communicate both orally and in writing, and employs management techniques effectively in directing, planning, organizing, staffing, coordinating, budgeting, and evaluating the library's operation. Experience, typically 4 to 10 years. This could be a little misleading because I'll let you know, I have seen people get into management positions who only had 2 years of library experience. Usually that happens at like small private colleges. That tends to be where that happens, but it does happen. But most of the time you are going to have at least, I would say not even 4, probably at least maybe 6 to 7 years of experience before you actually get into upper management. Now you might be supervisory before that. A couple of years of supervisory experience, demonstrated interest in professional development through attending workshops and conferences. If you do want to go into management, it is probably a very, very good idea that you go somewhere that has some sort of professional development budget. Take that as a word from the wise. If you go somewhere that does not have professional development funds, there's going to be a limit in your ability to climb the ladder and get to a management position at other libraries, like going from a rank and file practitioner at one library to being hired as a manager at another library. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't work the ranks and climb the ranks and become a manager at the particular library that you're already employed at. Demonstrated interest in professional development through attending workshops and conferences. Yes, yes, yes. I think I just said that, so my apologies. Career path. Library managers who excel in their area of work may make excellent candidates for a library director, with the realization that it can be a very different outward-focused position from even a deputy or assistant director. And that is also something that's very, very important to know. So whenever, and I've worked at public libraries and I've worked at different types of academic libraries, and I would definitely say that yes, when you have a library director, that person is usually doing very, very different things from the deputy directors and assistant directors. The library directors at a lot of colleges and universities are often reporting directly to the like the provost or the head of the academic unit if the library is encapsulated within some academic unit. So those types of those types of responsibilities will vary if they are reporting directly to somebody that the deputy director doesn't have to report to. Library manager positions span a wide range in terms of how they are posted. If there are several strong internal candidates, the position may only be posted in the library. So at the other extreme, a consulting firm or a headhunter may be hired to conduct a search on a national basis. This might just be me personally, but at least for American libraries, and we do also have one Canadian student in this class, but for American libraries, I think it's actually a pretty good sign that you don't want to work somewhere if they are using a consulting firm for the hiring process. Sometimes if consulting firms are being used for the hiring process, what that means is the previous library director or library manager may have been somebody who left on not so good terms, and the people who are within the system are not being trusted to hire their replacement for one reason or another. A lot of times that can be discrimination, just to keep it real. Various types of discrimination, but discrimination. Jobs at this level are often posted in library publications such as those that are listed there. All right, so that is a page that you probably want to acquaint yourself with. Again, there is a hyperlink there, and then also you can just Google ALA, what library managers need to know, and you would be brought to this path, to this page here. So I hope that that has been enlightening and helpful for you to look at and review. It will probably be required reading in a future class, but again, I did not tool around with the required readings that much with this class, being that this is the first time that I've taught it. So having said that, I am going to end it right there. I'm sorry I didn't keep it under 15 minutes, but let's make it just 17 minutes. I am Dr. Jace. Peace and grace, and we'll see you next week.